Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprocket. It's been a long time. Hello, I'm back. Tank, we're gonna make one. We're making a tank. Today, yes. Last video, we made a Warhammer tank. Today, we're making something a little bit less refined. You've probably seen the title. We're gonna make a tractor into a tank and then send it to war. Because that is what you do. Without any further ado, let's build it. This has been quite the intro. I'm out of practice. Okay, we're finally in the fast forward bit where I can retain just a little bit more of my sanity than I was before, perhaps. So immediately, it's been fairly apparent that it's been like 16 days, probably, since I last uploaded at time of upload of this one. So, whoops, that's my bad. However, I have been doing real life things like trying to buy and sell a house. So that was stressful because deep down I still believe that I am approximately 4 years old in terms of mental age. I don't know why anyone trusts me to do anything. It is truly a mystery to me. However, what I can be trusted to do is build tanks, because that's the thing that I do on this YouTube channel, and that's presumably why you're here. Most of you are already people who have been to this channel, and most of you are actually subscribed, which is, you know, not good for the growth statistics, but it is good for, you know, your safety. Sorry, that was just a thinly veiled threat that I made there, and if you thought it was anything other than that, then you are wrong. And I should not continue this statement, otherwise it may be used against me in a court of law. Okay, anyway, moving on from that very, very quickly, we are today building a tractor tank, which is something that I've done before. I did it a very long time ago. I made a Danish tractor tank, I think was meant to be where it was from. That was done so long ago now. I can't even think of how many months ago. I want to say it's like a year and like 6 months ago now, probably, maybe even 2 years. I've been doing this for a little bit longer than I really perhaps should have been doing, but because it's been so long since my last video, there's a couple of things that we're making use of today that we didn't have access to when we made my last video. That includes high volute suspension, whatever, HVSS. I believe that was technically in the game, but I didn't use it, so that's the first time we're using that. There's now rivet generation, there's clutch braking, eras have been re-added to the game. I kind of forgot about that while I was building this, so if you look at the top, this is currently being built in late war. I fixed that before the end, because this is definitely not a late war design. And then there was a little hotfix. And I believe there's been another hotfix, but I don't have the patch notes for that on my Steam for some reason. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, generally speaking, the game has had a hell of a lot of updates going on since I last made a video on this. So things are looking good for the 0.2 beta. And since I keep getting asked it, I think I will just run over this real quickly, because it seems to be common that a lot of people still aren't rocking this beta. Honestly, at this point in time, I can strongly suggest it. They're working on backwards I say they. Hamish is working on backwards compatibility right now, so that should be the next big content update that gets added, is like being able to use our old tanks once again in this update. And fingers crossed at some point after that we get like the ability to fight other tanks than what you're in, because it isn't hugely interesting at the moment. Like, combat is nice to have, but the combat is just against your own tank, and typically your own tank versus your own tank pretty much goes, you know, pretty evenly between the two sides. So yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, I was gonna teach you how to actually get this alpha. So basically, find your game in Steam if that's where you own it, which it should be. And if you don't own it through Steam, naughty. You right-click it, go to your properties, go to the betas tab on the left-hand side of the window that opens, go to beta participation and select the drop-down, go to 0.2 alpha, and then it will update. And that, there you go, will put you on this geometric internals update, and you can have all of the things that I'm playing around with. So if you do not have all of these things, that is why. yeah, right, now that that's covered, that is in a section of the video that a lot of people skip over, so I'm still going to get that in the comment section. But if you, my viewer, see somebody else asking, how do I get the 0.2 update, you can answer their questions for me so that I don't need to reply that comment again, because I've done it a few times now and I don't want to do it and I'm lazy. I also do have a job, so, you know, other times from when I'm doing checking my YouTube comment section, I might be doing things like paying my bills. Sorry, that was incredibly condescending. Yes. Mantlet. We're building a custom mantlet for this bad boy. If you have ever seen, I want to say it's the HTZ16? KHTZ16. Wow, I am actually correct. It is what I'm mostly inspiring this thing off. It is a Russian improvised fighting vehicle. They were built in Kharkiv, and they built very, very few of them, and they reckon that these things were essentially just built as a panic as the Germans were advancing. And yeah, there's stories of these things being sent basically straight into combat off the production lines, which are, you know, dubiously realistic. We don't know if that's the truth or not, but generally speaking, if we're going off things that the Russians say, probably not. Yeah, that's roughly what I'm going for this thing. I do name it a Czech name, as in like from the Czech Republic. However, that's not necessarily representative of where this thing makes sense to be from, because the Czech didn't have a need for something like this and therefore wouldn't build something like this. They had the capability, the desire, and the funding to build much better vehicles along the lines of the Skoda T28. Or was it the T28 before the Germans got their hands on it? I think it was. Anyway, yeah, that's the law of this bad boy. So you can have that. This is also very small. It's a very small little tank. We end up fitting, I think, 3 people into this thing. Look at me there, making a massive mistake and accidentally moving the entire suspension assembly, but there you go, I fixed it. I think this thing's quite adorable as well. It is utterly ridiculous. This kind of a thing is always really funny to see. Obviously, the most common example of this is going to be your Bob Semple, but honestly, the Bob Semple, genuinely quite difficult to replicate in Sprocket. I have no idea what it did with the faces there, by the way. Look at that. Well, I don't know why it decided that that was what I wanted. It was not. So I just fixed that. Sometimes 0.2 just kind of does weird stuff like that, but honestly, I still find it easier to use than the old editor. Things are just a little bit clearer as to what you're actually selecting and kind of what's going on. I know some people disagree with that statement, but personally, for me, it works better in my brain. And oh, yes, we're using clutch braking as well, as opposed to the twin transmission, which has been the only method of getting your tanks to steer so far. So, yeah, I mean, that because it's on the cheap, basically. Okay, we have something going on here for sure. It is ridiculous, but I love it. It's not very big, so fingers crossed we can fit our fellas in here. But if we grab someone real quick, we're probably only gonna get 2 guys in here, maybe 3 if we squeeze someone up like that and have them be the driver. And I think it would honestly be funny if there's 3 guys in here. You know, I feel like this is the kind of tank that the Top Gear trio would drive. We'll go with that. Yeah, I've just got to make it work now, which shouldn't be too bad, to be entirely honest, because expectations are low. Okay, yeah, we just got a little bit more fast forward segment here with everybody's favorite segment, which somebody said in the comments was not their favorite segment, and all I'm saying is you are either in denial or you are simply lying to get a rise out of me. You were saying that Human Tetris is not your favorite part of every single video, which is just a lie. Everybody loves watching me put little guys in a tank, just slotting them in there in whichever way, shape, form that they will go in. So, yeah, that's my hot take. If you don't like it, get out. You're banned. Wow, I'm sorry. That was uncalled for. Yeah, I really tried to get this guy to be sat in like a decent location where his eyes would not be completely blocked by this mantler, but I couldn't get it to work, so I instead just had him kind of laid down, almost half laid down, sat like in an F1 car style of seating, and because this is so much like an F1 car, obviously. And then, you know, we managed to get that so that the mantler wouldn't constantly be blocking the driver's viewport. This is probably the most thought I've ever actually put into the arrangement of the crew inside of a tank. And of course, it's this thing. Here I am trying to use the rivet generation tool. I did use it successfully earlier on the front of the tank, but for some reason here, just didn't want to work. So instead, I had to go in and manually add my rivets, which is fine, that works. And playing around with kind of how that works, see if I can link them together, which it looks like I did, but no, I didn't. I made a mistake. I don't know if you can link more than one together, and you like maybe need to hold shift when you click or something. I don't know, but either way, I got rivets on this thing where I wanted rivets on this thing. The entire thing isn't riveted, but that's because based on the, you know, Soviet inspiration, that thing was also not entirely riveted. However, it was built with, you know, Soviet welds, which were notoriously awful. So you know, maybe it would have been better to rivet it for the first time ever. Hang on, sorry, I'm British. Rivets are the best thing ever, and nobody can tell me otherwise. There we go. That's my legal obligations out of the way by the Queen, who is... It's not the Queen anymore. The Queen's dead. The King. So... you would be surprised how many people still haven't cottoned onto that in England. It was a long time, alright? We're still kind of getting used to it all. Putting in a firewall as well. That's something that we're doing now, just to make sure that my internet privacy is good while I'm building and playing with my tanks. No, I will not elaborate on that. I also then noticed that the firewall clipped in with the engine, so we fixed that as well because I'm paying attention and being good. What even is there left to do on this thing? Give it a paint job, mostly, and some ammunition. Yes, that helps. Ammunition would be useful in a tank, but for the most part, we're pretty much done. So we'll go and we'll just give it a test, why don't we? It seems like as good a time as any to do so. And it is done. This is our little tractor tank. We have a tiny little 45mm gun. This is obviously inspired heavily by Soviet designs. However, I've given it a Czech name, so sorry, people of the Czech Republic. Don't mean to offend you by attributing this to you. I just didn't want to name it something in Cyrillic. Anyway, we have a little 45mm pop gun, and you know what? Not a bad slab of armor. It's got 40mm of frontal armor, which isn't amazing, but given this thing, as you can see, it should be plenty sufficient. It is not quick in any stretch of the imagination. We're making use of HVSS suspension, I think, for the first time since it was re-implemented. Oh dear, we've just had our driver wounded. There's 3 people in here, so we've got plenty more where that came from, and this 40... You know what? This 45 actually doesn't have a bad muzzle velocity on its shells. I can't aim to save my life, though, which in this case, it may well actually save my life, because, you know, I'm in a tank battle, which tends not to be amazing for the health. We should be able to go clean through the front of these things, and I think I just have, because I think we have about 45mm of penetration versus about 40mm of armor. But we do, I mean, we've got an internal plate, which is more of a firewall than it is anything else, but that should help with survivability as well. I think we might be winning this. I think these guys might be dead, because they are not doing a lot anymore, which means we can show off the incredible turning capability of this tank. And that reveals to us the barn door that I've implemented on the back of this thing for easy egress in and out of the tank. Calling it a tank is a little bit rich. It's a bit of a coffin on on tracks, to be entirely honest. You probably wouldn't want to be in this thing in real life, but you know, if you've got somewhere to be in an armored box at approximately 11 miles an hour, then this will do you nicely. And my ally seems to have driven up a ramp and promptly fallen off it and died. We've got a little open hatch here where you can see the commander and loader. And look at this. Amazing hill climbing abilities. Yeah, they actually shouldn't be too bad. I reckon we could probably get up the steepest of steep hills here, which is not particularly steep, but, you know, look at the thing. I mean, doing this at all is quite impressive for something that looks like this. Come on! Yeah, no problem. No problem. Nailed it. And then we do our little balancing act. No, we fall off and die. I think the only appropriate thing to do now is see what the biggest gun I can fit on this thing is. Okay, what? That's okay. How's this for size? That's a 170mm gun. We have a couple of shells in here, not the world's most, so I'm gonna see how close we can get to these AI without getting absolutely deleted from existence. Can we even aim? No, we can't aim. Hang on, I need to fix that. Right, there we go. Now we can actually aim with this thing, I believe. I removed the ability for it to go side to side, so I could put in a bigger gun. Right, you just got to aim the hull at the enemy. It's a modern technique. It's, you know, so think about how the STR-V103 does it. It's obviously a lot like that. And they're still firing, which is quite the interesting strategy when they're not even remotely facing me. We shall attempt a shot. Ah! You know what? That wasn't even too bad. And the reload, not too bad either. I believe we should have enough ammo to make up for my slightly inaccurate firing, but I reckon we hit him. No, don't tell me they survived that. Come on. Even the sheer momentum of a 170mm shell would probably destroy this thing. Just... What? It bounced. Come on. No way. You're kidding me. Are you meaning to tell me that this 170mm gun is not very practical? That penetrated! There's no way you're alive. I don't believe you. Not for a second. You are dead, my friend. I don't know if the damage in this game is quite free from flaw at the moment. That is quite the damage that it's received to be completely okay. That might have to be the thumbnail there, and that is absolutely insane. But anyway, I can't think of much more crazy things to do with this, so for now, I'm going to call it here. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, please leave a like, leave a comment on the video if you feel like it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I know I've not uploaded in a little while, but we're still kind of gunning for 35,000 by the end of the year. It's unlikely, but you know what? If you go crazy, maybe. But anyway, goodbye. And as always, a huge thank you to my YouTube super supporters, Cruiser25, Cody Fox, Peter Holmes, Peter Seifert, ChemJam135, Stug3, and Terra, and a huge thank you to all of the regular supporters as well.